As our protagonist faces the monstrous creature looming before them, he swiftly assesses the dire situation. Invincibility will be removed in 5 seconds. He announces, his voice steady and commanding. The monster is entering the frenzy stage, and 30 seconds later, it will destroy the entire field. With a determined gaze, he turns to address his companions. Everyone. In the last 30 seconds, we must make it back alive this time. His words, filled with urgency and resolve, ignite a spark of courage within his teammates. The huge guy, who moments ago trembled with fear, now stands tall, emboldened by the unique skill our protagonist possesses. This skill, aptly named Boost the Spirit, increases magic recovery speed by 15% and lasts for 30 seconds. Even Lu Xingran, usually composed and collected, is taken aback by our protagonist's unexpected prowess. With a small smile playing on her lips, she murmurs to herself, "I'm sure you can't be underestimated." Just then, Lu Xingran commands her companion, "Attract the monster's attention." She calls out, her voice firm and commanding. The massive guy nods, he strides forward to confront the monstrous foe. With a voice as deep as the abyss, he bellows at the creature, "Scoundrel, look this way." His words ignite a fury within the beast. Reacting swiftly, Lu Xingran turns to the mage girl at her side. "Aim for the monster's tentacles," she commands urgently. Without hesitation, the mage girl channels her arcane energies, casting a spell that streaks towards the monster with blinding speed. The magic strikes true, deflecting the creature's impending attack with a burst of brilliant light. At that moment, our protagonist steps forward, his voice steady and unwavering. The carved square block is the key to unlocking the blood trial. If it's destroyed by a fireball, the trial will remain open forever, he declares. Lu Xingran's brow furrows with concern. "What should we do?" she asks, her voice tinged with apprehension. With a determined expression, our protagonist raises his hand, his gaze fixed on the object of their quest. "I believe we can retrieve it by hand," he replies calmly, his confidence unwavering. Lu Xingran's eyes widen in disbelief. "How is that possible? Are you suggesting we dive into the blood nightmare's belly?" she exclaims. But our protagonist nods resolutely. "That's exactly what I intend to do," he confirms, conviction burning in his eyes. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Lu Xingran springs into action. "Archer," she calls out urgently. "Aim for the ceiling. Bring it down upon the monster." With a nod of understanding, the archer readies his bow and takes aim at the cavernous ceiling above. With a swift motion, he releases his arrow, triggering a massive explosion that rocks the place. The resulting explosion was deafening, rocks and debris raining down upon the monster below. At that moment, our protagonist springs into action with lightning speed, his every movement a blur of determination. Lu Xingran, ever vigilant, follows close behind, ready to lend her support at a moment's notice. As they charge towards the monstrous foe, the creature lashes out with its writhing tentacles, aiming to thwart their advance. Yet our protagonist proves to be a master of agility, evading each strike with deft precision, his movements fluid and calculated. Closing in on the beast, our protagonist murmurs to himself, his voice barely audible amidst the chaos. The super regeneration ability can instantly heal minor wounds. He reminds himself, drawing strength from his own resilience. So the nightmare of blood-splitting small-scale attacks can be ignored. Meanwhile, Lu Xingran unleashes the power of her frost banner, encasing the lower half of the monster's body in a sheen of icy cold. The creature roars in frustration as its movements become sluggish and encumbered. Seizing the opportunity, our protagonist launches himself into the air with a mighty leap. His target, the chest of the monster, where the coveted stone tablet lies. But as he hurtles towards his objective, our protagonist realizes that his speed alone may not be enough to reach the monster in time. With a quick decision, he reaches into his inventory and retrieves a potion, drinking it in one gulp. Instantly, his speed surges by 20%, propelling him forward with renewed vigor. Not content with speed alone, our protagonist reaches for another potion, this time enhancing his defenses by 15%. With newfound resilience coursing through his veins, he charges towards the monster with unwavering determination. Yet even as he approaches, the monster unleashes a devastating strike, catching our protagonist off guard and sending him hurtling backward through the air. Our protagonist finds himself in a dire situation, having suffered serious injuries. Feeling helpless, he murmurs to himself, "Indeed, I failed. I should have kept a lower profile." Despite the overwhelming odds, he refuses to surrender. With determination, he grits his teeth and activates his unique ability, recycling. As he plummets towards the ground, he whispers, "The object for recycling is myself." In that critical moment, hands reach out and catch him, preventing a fatal crash. Witnessing this, onlookers like Lu Xingran and others are stunned. "What is this thing? Where did it come from?" they exclaim in disbelief. However, a notification appears before our protagonist, delivering a sobering message. Unable to recycle living beings. Recycling failed. Undeterred by this setback, our protagonist knows that his scavenger ability won't work on living beings. Instead, he sees an opportunity to leverage it in a different way. Without wasting a moment, he throws himself towards the monster with all his might, using his scavenger ability to enhance his speed and force. Hurtling towards the creature like a projectile, he aims straight for its vulnerable spot. With a burst of incredible speed, our protagonist pierces through the monster's defenses, seizing the stone tablet from its body in a triumphant display of courage and strength. With the weight of the stone tablet in his hands, our protagonist feels a surge of determination coursing through him. "It's time to read what's written on the block to lift the curse of blood," he declares resolutely. As he begins to decipher the ancient script etched onto the tablet, a notification unexpectedly pops up. The test of blood is complete. Before anyone can comprehend the significance of this message, the monstrous body of their foe begins to fade into nothingness, leaving behind a sense of bewildered relief. What just happened? Did we win? Lu Xingran and her teammates voice their astonishment, their eyes scanning the now empty space where the threat once stood. Then, another notification interrupts the moment, illuminating their screens. "Congratulations! Everyone has leveled up." Excitement bubbles over as cheers erupt from the group. They jump and celebrate, reveling in their newfound strength and accomplishment. In the contrary, our protagonist feels a bit sad because he already knows that he is at his max level. Suddenly, a treasure box suddenly materializes. Its lid creaks open to reveal a trove of powerful items. But alas, fate deals a cruel hand to our protagonist. He lacks the required level to wield them. With tears welling in his eyes, he tosses the cards aside, his voice choked with disappointment. "So, all these colorful gears in front of me are useless for me since I can't equip them." Just then, Lu Xingran appears. She holds 3 cards in her hand, her expression earnest as she addresses our protagonist. "Those who passed the test of blood," she begins. "You're the biggest contributor, so the spoils are yours to distribute." However, our protagonist brushes off her offer with a nonchalant remark, masking his inner turmoil with a forced smile. "There's no such thing, he replies, before leaning in to whisper a request into her ear. Outside the abyss gate, Lu Xingran's guards stand vigilant, their faces etched with concern. One of them reaches for his two-way radio, preparing to call for reinforcements. But before he can utter a word, Lu Xingran emerges from the darkness, her presence a welcome relief to her anxious companions. The tears that spring to their eyes are ones of joy as they see their miss safe and sound. One of the guards, a bald man, rushes forward with open arms, eager to embrace her. But his affection is met with a sharp slap from Lu Xingran's hand, her expression one of pride and determination. "Indeed, is there anything I cannot accomplish solo?" she declares, her voice ringing with unwavering confidence. Behind her, the mage girl nods in agreement, bidding farewell as they prepare to depart. "We are leaving now," she announces, "and will also keep the secret." At that moment, Lu Xingran's mind drifts back to the favor our protagonist sought within labyrinthine depths of the dungeon. "A favor?" she queries, curiosity piqued. "What is it?" With a casual air, our protagonist unveils his request, a simple transaction amidst the chaos of their adventure. "It seems your Lu group isn't short on money, right?" he ventures. "Would you like to buy my share of the spoils? I'll take cash, let's say, 500 magic crystals." Caught off guard by the proposal, Lu Xingran hesitates, her mind wrestling with uncertainty. No problem," she replies. But our protagonist isn't finished yet. One more thing. He interjects, his tone tinged with secrecy. When you leave later, please make sure to treat me as if I don't exist. Let's just say you tackled this abyss successfully all by yourself. Confusion clouds Lu Xingran's features as she grapples with the peculiar request. Okay. She agrees, though uncertainty lingers in her response. As our protagonist turns away, his footsteps fading into the shadows, he offers a parting remark. You guys go ahead. He calls out, his voice a whisper in the darkness. I'll slip away quietly later. As Lu Xingran's mind wanders through the corridors of memory, a pang of realization hits her like a heavy blow. So, this guy was planning to sell me a favor all along. She exclaims, her voice tinged with sadness. Meanwhile, within the depths of the dungeon, our protagonist sits in quiet contemplation before a weathered stone tablet, the air heavy with anticipation. Suddenly, a small black creature emerges from its depths, its presence ominous and enigmatic. With a solemn expression, our protagonist addresses the creature, his words tinged with determination. You, powerless as you are, don't want to be treated like trash, stepped on by anyone, right? Then become my strength. Without hesitation, Ye Qing harnesses his scavenger ability, recycling the creature with precision and purpose. In an instant, a notification flashes before him, heralding a newfound ability. Nightmare Incarnation. Sacrifice life to summon a nightmare clone, a formidable ally in the battles to come. Feeling the surge of power coursing through his veins, our protagonist can't help but smile. That's great! He exclaims. Examining the items he had relinquished to Lu Xingran, our protagonist reflects aloud. All those with slightly higher level requirements, I've handed them all over to that person, Lu Xingran. But think about it, a nobody scavenger like me, grabbing a bunch of dyed equipment, is sure to attract the attention of those monitors. Gazing at his own modest belongings, he continues. On the contrary, this pile of garbage, so inconspicuous, can be quietly sold off without the monitors bothering to care. Thinking too much. No one should buy this pile of garbage anyway. Determined to make the most of his resources, our protagonist reaches into his inventory and retrieves an ordinary hammer. With a decisive motion, he begins to recycle it, expecting nothing more than the usual outcome. Suddenly, a notification appears, announcing the recovery of equipment and the gain of basic points. Another message follows, detailing the process of garbage recycling and the extraction of recyclable materials. Surprised by this revelation, our protagonist is intrigued by the possibilities that lie before him. Another notification explains that basic points are the universal materials extracted from dismantling useless equipment, usable for upgrading, repairing, and creating new items. Holding two cards in his hand, our protagonist muses. Can these junk equipment be dismantled? Before he can ponder further, the system offers him a task. To complete the repair operation for an ordinary dagger. Without hesitation, our protagonist retrieves the dagger from his inventory and begins to allocate basic points to repair it. As he finishes the process, he is astonished to find that not only has the dagger been repaired, but its durability and attack power have also been slightly enhanced. In that moment, he realizes the potential hidden within seemingly worthless items. It seems junk equipment needs to be hammered and tempered to become stronger. He concludes, a smile spreading across his face. Just then, a notification appears, congratulating him on completing the tutorial and offering a choice of rewards. With a sense of anticipation, our protagonist selects his reward. As our protagonist selects the lightweight mana potion drawing, he explains his reasoning with a thoughtful expression. Attribute values aren't scarce for me. What I'm most worried about when venturing into the abyss is the unpredictable length of the journey. Many unprepared adventurers often run out of mana before even finding the boss room, forcing them to backtrack for supplies. Therefore, the mana bottles found within the abyss are often crucial items for the team's endurance, and the value of mana bottles is self-evident. With a determined nod, he uses the card, and a notification promptly appears, congratulating him on learning item regeneration. Another message follows, detailing the requirements for regenerating lightweight mana potions. 6 BP plus any container. Pausing to consider this information, our protagonist remarks. Regenerating an item requiring BP doesn't surprise me, but Any container? His eyes light up with realization as an idea takes shape. Turning to the coffee shop employee, he politely asks, "Can you give me a few empty coffee cups?" The employee, curious but obliging, provides him with several empty coffee cups. With the materials in hand, our protagonist embarks on an experiment. As our protagonist finishes creating several potions, he selects one of the cups and takes a sip to test its effects. However, the taste is so bitter that he spits out some of the potion in surprise. Despite the unpleasant flavor, he soon feels the potion taking effect, his mana increasing and his fatigue decreasing. Leaving the coffee shop, our protagonist murmurs to himself, "Today, I should be able to clear another abyss." But his thoughts are interrupted as two men approach him. One of them, a bald man, addresses him with familiarity, asking, "Ye Qing. It's Ye Qing, right?" Our protagonist responds with a suspicious glance, but remains silent. Undeterred, the bald man continues, noting the change in his demeanor with a smirk. "Ha! It's only been a few days, but your whole demeanor has changed. Could it be that you've stumbled upon some treasure while picking up trash? I was looking for you for quite a while. A few days ago, I almost reported you missing due to an accident." Maintaining his composure, Ye Qing responds calmly, "I've already paid off all my debts, including the interest. Don't come bothering me." However, the bald man disregards his words, putting his arm around Ye Qing's neck in a display of dominance. "Don't want to work anymore?" The bald man taunts. "Although you've paid off your debts, your employment contract isn't over yet. Don't forget, you're a garbage collector. You should live like garbage. Who the hell are you trying to impress with that cool and arrogant look of yours?" In a sudden aggressive move, the bald man strikes Ye Qing's hand, causing him to drop the cup containing the potion. With feigned concern, he chastises Ye Qing for spilling his drink. As tension mounts, it becomes clear that the bald man is intent on picking a fight. His subordinates gather around, preparing themselves for confrontation. Despite the brewing conflict, Ye Qing remains composed, his eyes narrowing with determination, muttering to himself, "According to the Abyss external management regulations for job changers, the use of any professional abilities is absolutely prohibited. The only ones allowed to use professional abilities outside the Abyss are enforcers and licensed armed personnel, so, just now, attempting to use the abilities of retrieval and regeneration was done in blind spots of surveillance." Just then, the bald man comes closer to Ye Qing and says with a sneer, "Here's the deal. You pick up each pearl from the ground and eat it, then lick this puddle of milk tea clean. I'm still letting you do this garbage collection job, it's a rare job opportunity, right? Ha ha ha." Upon hearing these humiliating words, Ye Qing clenches his fists in anger. With a grave expression on his face, he replies firmly, "I refuse." The bald man's face darkens with rage at Ye Qing's defiance. He clenches his fists, ready to attack, but suddenly stops when he notices someone approaching. Terror flashes in his eyes. The newcomer is a man with scars on his face, his presence exuding authority and menace. This man is Rodrigo Caesar from the S-Rank Guild, Hunter's Troop, part of the Blood Oath Alliance. Caesar strides over and grabs the bald man by his necktie, lifting him slightly off the ground. "Are all the people here now?" he demands. The bald man, trembling, stammers, We're almost there, just one more to go." Caesar's fury intensifies. He releases the bald man and turns to Ye Qing, his eyes narrowing. "Hey, kid. You've been conscripted." The bald man, still recovering, protests weakly. He's just a garbage collector. What you want is someone who can stand on their own. I can go out and find one right away." Caesar shakes his head, his expression grim. Entering the abyss in the Red Moon state, it's full of extremely ferocious monsters. What I need are some cannon fodder, strength doesn't matter. After deep thought, Ye Qing accepts Caesar's request to join the team entering the abyss in the Red Moon state. Seeing the confident look on Ye Qing's face, Caesar smiles approvingly and says, "That's great. It's good to see a guy who knows what he's doing." Caesar calls out for his teammates to gather around him. One of them, Lao Chen, exclaims in surprise when he sees Ye Qing. "Darn, it's you." Reacting quickly, Ye Qing grabs Lao Chen by the face and pushes him aside, ensuring he can't reveal anything about him. At the corner of the building, Lao Chen stammers. It's not an illusion, it's really you. Ye Qing replies calmly. If we didn't borrow everyone's strength at that time, we would have all died inside. You being able to come out alive is also because of my efforts. Suddenly, Caesar appears beside them. So, you two know each other? With sweat dripping from his face, Ye Qing quickly responds. Of course not. We don't know each other. Satisfied, Caesar walks away. Ye Qing turns back to Lao Chen, his eyes narrowing. How did you get out? Lao Chen's face twists with bitterness as he explains loudly. The guild originally intended to sentence me to 15 years, but I paid a fine of 1.5 million and regained my freedom. It's all because of you. Now I'm penniless, and I've lost all my levels. I can only be cannon fodder and start from scratch. If you don't restore my levels, I'll report you to the World Guild right away. Ye Qing's expression darkens. He steps closer to Lao Chen, his voice low and threatening. If you dare to say another word, I'll turn you into kitchen waste for recycling.